I appreciate everybody taking some time out this evening to come and see our progress of where we are with the new high school. It is a very exciting time here in Monroe. In January, we finished the addition down on the junior high wing, which added 8 classrooms, which is enough for an additional 200 students, which definitely gave us breathing room as we transition to the new high school, which is still on schedule to open for the fall of 2028. We are in the thick of the design phase of the high school, and that is a picture of, it's hard to tell from just that photo, but that is the practice fields located in between our current baseball diamond and Butler Tech, which is where the new high school will sit. And when we get to the plan of where it's located, we'll have some people share kind of exactly the location and why it's located where it is. This whole process started actually back in January of 23. We started monthly meetings from community members gathering input about what type of building the community needed, where it should go, and by the end of those meetings, there was an overwhelming sentiment from the public that we needed a high school and we needed it now. And so we went to the ballot in November of 24, and it overwhelmingly passed the bond issue, and shortly after we started the planning process. We started with staff meetings. The staff worked closely with the architecture firm to gather information, not just the high school staff, but all the way kindergarten through 12, gathering ideas about what the ideal learning space looks like for children, and got a lot of good ideas. Then we also had a core group of high school students that we met with monthly, as well as high school staff members that took tours to a number of different area high schools to gather input. And as you know, high school students can be very honest, and they will tell you what they like and they don't like. So we got a lot of really good ideas from them. And then I also have been meeting over the last 6 months with a lot of the community groups, booster groups. I went over to Mount Pleasant, gathering input, sharing ideas as we are in this design phase. At this time, I do want to do a few introductions. We are working with the architecture firm of Fanning and Howey, the construction company Robertson, and we have some members from MCS and Associates. They are our owner's rep that help us through this whole process. We are educators, we're not experts in the construction business, and so they are representing us to make sure we are, getting everything we need to and using the taxpayer money effectively. I'm going to turn it over now to Thad, who is going to go through sort of the timeline, where we are in the timeline, and all the way up to the expected opening date in the fall of 28.
As we came out of summer, we were able to start actually putting basically spreadsheets and talk into design, into actual concepts and things that looked like a building and looked like a high school. And then you see the big blob, the big circle. That's a really critical phase, and what's so great about that is we're pretty much at the end of that. We've gone through putting more detail into the high school, which you're going to see today. We had, again, additional more meetings with the district, touch spaces with other staff and that teacher core group that we've been meeting with to make sure that we're on the right track and we're aligned with the goals. We are partnered with the state, so there's some minimum requirements. There's some things that we have to check boxes on to make sure, because there is state funding tied to this, that we honor that. And then today, we're finalizing the design. We're actually putting together an early site package, so we'll be able to move some dirt around before we start going vertical. So we're submitting to the city of Monroe on some of that, which is really encouraging. We've met with them. They've been a good partner as far as being able to communicate with us on expectations. And so that's where we are to date. Looking forward, we're looking to get things finalized as far as working with Robertson on final costs and final scopes, so that we can actually get subcontractors on the project and ready to go by summer. So that's when that big transition occurs, and then from summer on, Robertson's going to be in the driver's seat as far as getting all the logistics together to make sure that fall 2028 is hit.
The thing I get asked probably most often, besides the building, is are we going to have a second access drive to the campus? And the answer to that is yes. I've been working on this for a long time, even before the bond issue passed, and we have been working to get that second access drive. I wouldn't say tricky, but the interesting thing about that is, if you didn't know, Yankee is actually the line between the city of Monroe and the township. So when the actual high school will be built in the city of Monroe, so we're dealing with permitting through the city of Monroe, but when we're dealing with connecting a road to Yankee, we're dealing with the city of Monroe and the township, which goes through the county engineer's office. And then, because it directly affects the intersection right off there, which is Route 63, the Ohio Department of Transportation, ODOT, is also involved. So having all three of those entities along with the school district, it's never a quick and easy process, but we will be getting a second drive. Until the project's completed, there will be some pain in construction. So I just want to warn everybody about that. We will be communicating that and helping parents, because it will affect drop-off patterns in the morning, and we'll have all that prior to any of the traffic patterns changing. So the goal is, for the beginning of next school year, the drive will be done almost to Yankee, but we aren't able to connect to Yankee until the improvements are made to Yankee Road, where we'll have a turn lane here. There'll be a turn lane added down at the intersection of 63, and then there'll also be lengthening the turn lanes on 63. So until that project is completed, we won't be able to connect. But we need a construction entrance, so we're going to be building a temporary access road that goes off our current road, and it'll route traffic over to the new existing drive, and then there'll be parent drop-off there at the school. This will be the construction entrance, so there'll be plenty of signs and gates, and we'll educate everybody as they're dropping kids off, but that is the plan. And so then when the new high school is open in 2028, both of these drives will be open. Hopefully the second drive is open prior to the start of 2028, so as soon as we are able to connect it, we will, and we'll start accessing that drive as well. I'm going to turn this back to Thad. This is the current building, current parking lot, and this is the concept of where exactly the new high school is going and the layout.
So we'll delve a little bit deeper into what's in the building in a minute, but the idea here is that we generally knew that the building was going to be located on this side of the existing school. Exactly where was really kind of open for discussion. And so that was actually a process that we worked through both with the district and with teachers that are leading this building about proximity to the existing versus more remote and where you kind of see it today. Both the students and the teachers both agreed. They wanted a high school that was not looking the same as this building, that's something that was connected. They wanted a distinct experience, saying that I get to go to that building. That's actually from the students. The students were like, I get to go to that building someday. And I thought that was a really powerful statement that started to inform kind of what we then were laying things out on site. And so what you see here is the high school that is more removed from the existing, but still has a lot of connectivity. So we have safe ability without crossing traffic or anything like that to get from both schools. We also have the ability to get to the athletic areas as well. And some of that actually informed of how we were going to then organize the building on the site. So a lot of the athletics is naturally moved to the north of the building. We have administration more prominently to the front, both from supervision perspective and just trying to be able to create a sense of here's where you need to be coming when you're on campus. And then the rest of it flows into the educational spaces for the building. From here down is a two-story building. Everything north of that, because it's high volume, gymnasium, those types of things, it's going to be just one story. One challenge, just I think everyone knows it in the photo that Robert shared at the beginning, the site looks flat. It's not flat. So there's definitely some slope, to contend with that we've been working through and making sure that the building is located to maximize and make sure that we're working with what we got there on site. Just a couple other key points is that's the top of Hornet Drive. We come back around. That gets you to the main parking area and drop off right in front. We will be using the parking over here to also be able to have students continue to park and walk into the building. Here, we're connecting to a drive that already exists, going down to Butler Tech, and then we're coming off of that south of the building to be able to comprise the rest of the parking needs as far as staff, things that may be after hours or those types of things. Ignore this, but there's just a field right here just kind of left over that could be used again as adjacent to athletics. The bus lot is right here now. We're just shifting it up a bit and going to locate it kind of like nestled between the athletics and this building and the existing building.
The original community groups that we met with, we went through every possible site for the new high school. We looked at the corner field. We looked at the field to the left as you're coming up Hornet Drive. We even looked at the land over off of McCready where the old high school was. And we did some initial studies with the traffic engineers, and they, that ended up being, one, it's the best spot because it's the flattest, and two, just accessing in and out of the drive, it definitely makes the most sense.
This is the main entrance to the building, kind of in the middle right here. You can kind of see how all of the sidewalks kind of flow all to this one particular point. And so you come in here, there will be a secure vestibule, but I just wanted to point out from the site, that's the main entrance. There is an alternate entrance up here that is more associated with athletic activities, but there is another alternate entrance, again, flanked by administration, so we do have secure abilities on both entrances. So what I was just pointing to is right here. So you walk through these doors, it's a secure vestibule similar to what you have right here at administrations to the top here that you'll see in a minute. You come down and there's this, what we call learning on display. It's a lot of art, science, these types of things, marketing, really those specials, those electives that really do have a lot of exciting things to share about what's going on. And so we've located that here in the middle of the building. Then further south, right here, that's kind of your general education classrooms. They're pretty standard, from a state perspective. But what's unique a little bit is the space between them. This is called ELA, or Extended Learning Area. This is where students then can begin to do work outside of the classroom associated with instruction in the classroom. They can be supervised, but they can basically take ownership of that space and are able to use that. You have a main street right here. It's like that concept, but it's more closely tied to the classroom activity than kind of separated from that. So this is something that we've really worked with our teacher group. We toured a lot of different schools out there that have versions of this. This is what we came with the version with the discussions with the teachers. Generally, this is the first story. Same thing up on the second story. We have the same concept, and then you have these open stairwells right here at the end, one in the middle, one right here at the end, that also connect those floors together. They're open so that there is some kind of, you feel like you're not just going into a closed stairwell and getting into another portion of the building.
If you walk through our high school today, you'll see, no matter what time of day, you'll see small groups of kids sitting on the floor in the hallway working, doing different things. And this is a great concept to avoid that. There'll be areas where they can sit, and there'll be tables and some furniture for them to collaborate and do different types of work when they're not just sitting at their desk.
So this is the second story. So you'll see there's a lot of common, the way it's laid out. So we have general education here. One important aspect of it is that we took the special education program and we moved it throughout the building. There's definitely self-contained rooms that we've talked with that program on, but then there's, for intervention, for small group, for that kind of thing. We're trying to locate it as conveniently as possible so it's as least disruptive should, there need to be additional instruction outside of the classroom. There's something close by to do that. We also, we're not there yet, but in many of our schools, just the furniture outside of the classroom in this extended learning area, the way it's designed, can actually be another little huddle space that can be done, whether an intervention specialist wants to meet with a particular student or whatnot, that's something that can happen. To the north, It's science. So we have 6 science rooms. Really excited. There's some fun spaces there that again are that kind of learning on display. And what's kind of neat about this is something that may not come through. We've really prioritized, when we talked to the teachers at the beginning, their wish list were outlets, bathrooms, daylight. Storage was the other one. So yes, that was a close fourth. Well, that, in our opinion, those have to be in this building. And so one of the things that you'll see is that one, all classrooms have access to the outside windows, being able to see. And what's also notable is that this space in the middle, when you go to the first floor, it was kind of a big open space. That is designed for students to take ownership. Do you want to hang up artwork? Do you want to have, put some work and get critiques on it? Do you want to put, there's just a lot of flexibility to that, but it's open all the way up and even further, and then there's clear stories that allow daylight to flood the interior. So it's a very inviting space where it's intentionally designed to be able to bring 2 classes together in that space if that were to be something that they wanted to do. Okay, so going back to the first floor, now we're just looking at everything. There is no upper levels on this side of the building. When you walk in right here to the entrance, again, so we would have gone just south of here and we go into the educational areas. We go north and this is administration area. So we have all the kind of functions. We have clinic, we have functions to support the teachers, we have school psychologists, counselor, and we have conference rooms and open rooms to be able to have something. I've noticed that the principals seem to use their offices as space for students to come in, and so we've provided additional space to be able to have that be dedicated to one-on-one or just, hey, take a minute, or if you need to do something in this space, whatever. So we want to make sure that there's space enough for that to happen. So going beyond, if you just came through, there's a large stair that goes up to the second level, but this is the nest. This is the cafe, and right next to it is the kitchen and serving line and kitchen. But this is a big open space. We have a platform area where we're able to do whatever program we want to do for assembly, whether it's community driven or if it's for the school itself. And then back here is all the infrastructure that makes the building, whether it's heating, cooling, hot water, all the electrical, all that's in the back right here that gets serviced easily by whoever needs to do that. Then notably going through the doors here, you get into this second entrance, and what we're saying is an athletic lobby, and it's right adjacent to the gymnasium. So this is again another space where in after hours events, you could technically close those doors, have an event here, and have a separate event here. So giving flexibility to be able to use 2 large assembly spaces simultaneously. So this is the gymnasium as it stands right now. We have locker rooms, we have a weight room, and then we have performing arts with vocal and band adjacent to that. If you remember back to the site plan on this side of the building, on that side of the building, there was a big open field. We kind of feel like that athletics and the band would use that field in some capacity. You also notice that there was a big parking lot right here. We need access to have, for food trucks and deliveries and things of that nature, to make sure that's on the back of the building and where all those services are located. And then to make our promise true, we have a lot of bathrooms. These bathrooms both serve both of these assembly spaces. They can be opened and closed depending on what types of events you're having, but we've definitely made sure to right size that to accommodate that. And one of the most exciting things that the students were like, we have bathrooms next to the cafeteria? And we're like, yes, you will. So that was really great to be able to make sure. We still got a ways to go in the design process. We're at this end where we can kind of visualize, what's in these spaces, but we don't have all the detail in it just quite yet. So what I've done today is, I had our team kind of we work in 3D. So we're building models, we're extracting information off of that. We're sharing it with Clay and his group with Robertson. So what you are looking at right now is just a general education classroom, right? We have not fully landed on what furniture is or what that, but typically, we do promote modular furniture that's adaptable, that can be configured in different ways for the classroom. And you'll note there are windows in the classroom.
We have had the fortune of having the new wing in the junior high. We tried out some different type of flexible seating for the kids. There's some higher top tables. There's some smaller desks that are very easily movable that you can make into larger tables for group work or individuals. And so far it's been rave reviews by the staff and students. Just ways for kids to, move around, but also have access to whatever is going on in the classroom.
Yeah.
And so it's given us an opportunity to try some things out as we, start to make decisions about furniture in the new building.
This is a science lab. It's chem, because I can see the fume hood back here. We worked really well with the science teachers on what do we need for these spaces. We're now getting down to, little things like, shut-offs, where does that need to go? Easy for the teacher to be able to access. But, we have the lab spaces all around the perimeter in this room. We have flexible seating in the middle for, different types of instruction. Just outside of the door, there's prep rooms between each room, so that, we're being very thoughtful about what room is next to what room, what kind of space, what kind of storage, what goes in that room as far as what they're storing, to really make sure that we're not leaving something unturned there.
The different high school science labs look a little different according to what the courses are. I know the biology teachers, the setup of their lab will look different than the chemistry lab, but they all, the flexible seating in the middle for them to move chairs and desks around was very important.
This is a space, there's a lot of room to continue to develop this, so it's pretty blank right now, but this space exists between the two wings of the general education classrooms. I pointed to the stairwell in the middle of that space. This is at the top of it, because you can see the stair just beyond it. The direction with Media Center is to distribute it amongst the rest of the high school, so that you're bringing books to where the students are, not only in the classroom but near classrooms. And so the idea here is a little bit of a coffee shop to bring the opportunity for students to come here, park themselves, take some ownership. There's some books there, and be able to use this space. Again, we're talking about student ownership of this building, letting them feel like this is their space and then they belong. So that's been something that we've been stressing ever since the beginning. And so these types of spaces really reinforce that. And again, when we shared this with the teachers and the students, they were all over it. They were like, yes, we would love to have that kind of space like that.
It's funny, when I first came to Monroe, we had overflow kids eating in the gymnasium because the cafeteria was just not large enough. And we looked at other options that we could do to accommodate those kids. And somebody suggested, putting some furniture out there in what we call Main Street outside the gym. And I said, we're not putting furniture out in the hallway for kids to eat lunch. Well, we ended up looking at some things and we put it there, and the kids actually love it. They sit out, it's kind of a senior lunch, upperclassman lunch, and that's where they sit. But the rest of the day, it's used as kind of a almost like a college atmosphere study area where kids can go to work on classes if they have online CCP classes. My goal with this kind of an area is for kids that maybe have a couple online CCP courses or outside of class, they can go in there and they can sit and get work done with the spot to, plug in and do whatever they need to do without going home. I want kids here as much as possible unless they're leaving for a true purpose.
So here, again, this is kind of a pretty raw take from the model that we're developing, but the idea that this is the cafeteria. The view is towards, that's the food service line. To the left right here would have been, the entrance to the athletic lobby area. And then just up here, there's another extended learning area. It's lofted, so it's open, so you can come up here, and there's small group rooms, and there's, again, more seating, as you kind of saw in the previous image. And then to the right is the kind of the platform, the stage. And we're still in early discussions, as far as what the type of seating is here, and we know what we need to hit as far as the seat count, but we've definitely toured schools that have a variety of seating options for students. This has been received really well by not the schools that we visited, but also by the students themselves, really enjoying an option between, being able to kind of choose, different things. So the best way to orient you is that's the entrance, that's the classroom, that shape, that kind of winged kind of look to it. We haven't modeled the site yet, so you're not seeing it in context. So, so here, those are the science labs. That's this clear story that I was telling you about. There's an open space. We're really trying to flood as much light into the interior of the building in this section to make it inviting, to make it bright. And then you have here, these are all the general education classrooms. These are the ends of the ELA spaces, and this side is going to have a really good view. It looks really cool up there, to look out, over the hill and down. So over here is the administration area. So we have windows out to be able to see the front. It's only a one-story space. And then we have the gymnasium back here, including that's the entrance right there to that athletic lobby. And then back here, that's just back of house. We have to have a mechanical yard. There's generators and transformers and things that we want to make sure that we kind of conceal, but still are able to maintain. And then that field that I mentioned earlier is back, just beyond this space, and you can see that's where the weight room. So they'll have access out to that, and then performing for band, they have also access to that field. Just another view now, more looking from the existing school. So that's the entrance here in the middle of the view. But yeah, if we were at the existing school, this would be kind of what we would see. It's a little bird's eye if we were up a little bit, but the gymnasium here is on the left. You can see these are classrooms here on the right, and then you can see that kind of what we call a clear story that helps allow daylight to get into the center of the space. And that's it.